It is time for the Lion to War because it's time for Daniel in the Deacon's Den. Good morning to you, Daniel. Deacon Dan Brahier. Good morning, Deacon Dan.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Ron. And a happy morning for Annunciation Radio on the Feast of the Annunciation, huh?
Thank you so much, Deacon Dan. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all that you do, particularly during this time of the year. And I can't even imagine how busy it's going to be for you in this coming week. Tell us a little bit about what you'll be doing regarding you and your brother deacons as we approach Holy Week.
Yeah, it's certainly a busy week. I've said before that Lent in general is the most busy time of the year for priests and deacons. Feels like we're on the run all the time. And particularly when we get to Holy Week. And it just seems like once we get to Saturday, Sunday, you kind of flip the switch and all of a sudden it's Easter because there's something every day. But I think that one recommendation I always have for our parishioners and for those that I speak to, that it isn't called Holy Week for nothing. So it is a whole week that is holy. And I think it's really easy to fall into the trap of we go to Mass on Palm Sunday, we hear the Passion, and then we kind of check out until Easter morning, and we get up and say, "Oh, it's Easter," But so much happens in the meantime, and really taking an opportunity to embrace every day of the Holy Week, I think really makes the Easter experience so much more beneficial. So what I have are just a few little recommendations of things that people can do during Holy Week each one of the days. So certainly on Palm Sunday, make sure that we go to Mass, but also this year, because we're in Cycle A, we're hearing Matthew's account of the Passion, but we don't hear Mark and Luke, and we do in the off years. But what I always recommend is take some time Sunday, maybe into Monday, to also read, Mark and Luke's Gospels as well, in the story of the Passion. So kind of taking it from the point where Jesus is arrested right through the crucifixion, and kind of compare, contrast, think about what does one story tell you, maybe that the other doesn't, and enter into the mystery of that story. And then on Monday, what we always do in our family is we try during the week of Easter, during Holy Week, to celebrate a seder meal. The same Passover meal that Jesus would have been celebrating during Holy Week. And it can be kind of a Christian version of it, of course. And if you're interested in doing that kind of thing, it's very simple to pull off. I mean, it takes just a few basic food items and prayers that you can find online. They can be downloaded. There are YouTube videos to explain how to do it. It's pretty simple. It takes about an hour or so to do a Seder meal, a simple Christian version of it. But it really, I think, sets the tone for the rest of Holy Week. And our kids still talk about how they did that growing up, and it will become a tradition in their families as well. And then when we get to Tuesday, then, of course, Tuesday is the Chrism Mass. And so that's the Mass at which at the cathedral the bishop will consecrate the sacred chrism and will bless the oil of catechumens and the oil of the sick. It's a beautiful liturgy, and I strongly recommend, if our listeners have never gone to the Chrism Mass before, it's just an incredible event. The priests of the diocese celebrate, the deacons are there, and it's a full church, and it's a beautiful time to kind of think about these oils, these holy oils that will be used sacramentally throughout the rest of the year. And so if you're unable to attend it, one way to do it also is to look up at the USCCB website, look up the readings for the Mass, to pray and meditate on them, and kind of meditate on the role that those holy oils play in the life of the church, because it, again, sets the table for the rest of Holy Week. Wednesday, has often been referred to as Spy Wednesday, because the readings focus on Judas making the final decision to turn Jesus in, and it's a time to kind of go to Mass and or reflect on Judas's betrayal, and what Jesus went through as all of that was going on. And I also recommend always attending the Tenebrae service if possible at the cathedral, or viewing that online. We used to do that at our parish on Wednesday nights, but it's become more of a diocesan thing. But in some way, kind of living a little bit of that kind of dark into light feeling, that recognizing that Judas has turned to the dark, and that Jesus is going to emerge from this triumphantly, but it's going to be a few days before we can celebrate that. And then, of course, by the time we get to Thursday, now we're into the sacred Triduum. And a priest once told my wife and I years and years ago that you can't really appreciate Easter unless you go through each step of Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and the Easter Vigil, and kind of watch the mystery unfold. And so I talked to about that to our OCIA folks at our parish every year, kind of what each of those pieces looks like. So on Thursday, Holy Thursday, to try to attend that Mass of the Lord's Supper, usually at 7 or 7:30 in the evening at your parish, and then an ancient custom of doing the Seven Churches pilgrimage, which is when the Holy Thursday Mass is over, to go around and visit 6 other churches and visit their altar of repose, because they've just finished celebrating the same liturgy, and the Blessed Sacrament has been reposed to a different place. And it's kind of a nice opportunity to do a little pilgrimage to these different churches. The first time I ever did it was with Father Jeff Walker when he was still in seminary, and we were with him in Rome. And it's really easy to do that pilgrimage in Rome, because all you can do is walk across the street. There's 7 churches within 2 blocks. It's a little more difficult here. You got to drive a little bit, but still getting that spirit of being able to visit other churches and to enter into the prayer with the people who are there. It just really puts you into a point of silence. And then on Good Friday, of course, attending services, and I always recommend taking some time to reflect on John's Gospel, because we hear that every year on Good Friday. Pray the Stations of the Cross, either to attend the stations in your church, or even to pray it individually at home, kind of privately, but to focus on that, on what Jesus went through on that road to Calvary. And then Saturday, of course, is the most silent day of the year. That's the day when we reflect on Jesus in the tomb. And our Savior has been put to death. Everybody is scattered. The apostles and his disciples don't know what they're supposed to do. And so spending some time in silence and reflect on Jesus in the tomb, I think is a big part of that. And certainly coloring Easter eggs in preparation for Easter is not a bad thing either. But to take some time, the church even recommends fasting on Saturday, just like we fast on Friday, because the fast kind of continues right up until the Easter Vigil. And then on Saturday night, I strongly always recommend attending the Vigil Mass. It is absolutely the most powerful Mass of the whole year. I always refer to it as the Super Bowl of Masses,
Right, yeah.
In fact, I've known a lot of people at our parish to go to the Vigil on Saturday night, and then when I'm assisting at Mass on Sunday morning, they're right back on Easter morning, because they wanted to see the whole thing, Of course, it's not necessary or required to go to both, but if you have a choice between the Vigil Mass and Sunday morning, gosh, the Vigil Mass just can't be beat. And so when you're there and you see the symbolism of the lights and the candles and the music, it just all comes to fruition. So what happens then is that entire week is a build-up to the Easter Vigil. You can truly feel it and celebrate it. And again, it's just so much different from going to Mass on Sunday and then going to Mass the next Sunday and kind of missing everything that's in between. And, as deacons, we are extremely busy every one of those days. We're assisting at the Palm Sunday Masses. We're at the Chrism Mass. We're going to be doing various projects with our parishes, preparing our OCIA people to come into the church at the Vigil. We're assisting on Holy Thursday, Good Friday, the Vigil. We're preaching. So I tell you, when I get to the Easter Monday after Easter, I am ready to just sleep in.
Yeah.
But totally worth it.
Jesus has resurrected, and you're ready for a nap. Yeah, and that's it's got to be. Just that week is so amazingly just quick. Everything is going all the time. Tenebrae, I've talked about it all the time. If you've not been to Tenebrae, brothers and sisters, at our cathedral, go. If you've already been, I don't even have to try to convince you. I love this idea of the 7 churches pilgrimage. I'm going to do that this year. Love that suggestion, Deacon Dan. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, it is a great experience just to see what the other churches look like and to pray with people from other parishes that night.
Mm-hmm. And Chrism Mass, of course, is at 11 a.m. at the Cathedral on Tuesday, March 31st. Tenebrae, 7:30 p.m. Wednesday. Just so you have those times we'll see you at the Cathedral, and of course a lot of celebrations in every one of our parish churches. So, Deacon Dan Brahier,
those two in particular at our Cathedral.
We'll be praying for you and all deacons and priests during this very very important time of the year.
Thank you, as we'll be praying for you.